Scott for Scots here. You ever want to grow new grass faster? Kinda like when you press the 2x playback button on your podcast so you can speed through episodes. Except at Scott's Turf Builder Rapid Grass, you're speeding your way from a thin and damaged lawn to a thicker, stronger one in just weeks. Bit too fast, maybe slow it down, okay. Let's just go back to normal speed.
Get a bag of Scott's Turf Builder Rapid Grass today. It grows grass 2 times faster than seed alone when applied at the new lawn rate, subject to proper care.
Feed your lawn. Feed it.
Lightning Lee Murray wanted to be world champion in the UFC.
He just happens to be involved in the largest cash robbery in the world.
It's definitely not sane.
Showtime Sports presents the unbelievable true story about the MMA fighter who pulled off one of the largest heists in history.
Huge amounts of money, armed gang, disguises, kidnapping.
This is the sort of thing you see in Hollywood films.
We'd never seen that for real.
Catching Lightning, streaming Friday, April 7th, only on Showtime. Streaming with Paramount Plus.
Welcome to the family here on Purple Mafia. I am your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awajan. Purple Mafia is available on all your favorite podcasting apps, and of course, the Pigskin Podcast Network, sponsored by DraftKings. Thank you very much. You'll be hearing from them in the second segment. Purple Mafia, thank you again for downloading and listening to this show. It is a great pleasure to be back on board with you once again today. The Minnesota Vikings went to Detroit. It just didn't have the right vibe. It just didn't. And, of course, all the people in Vegas, like DraftKings and such, or just on the DraftKings app, things like that, we're picking Detroit. About 90% of people, 90% of betting money was going in Detroit's area when Detroit was favored by 2 points. A lot of people are thinking, geez, 90%. I mean, they can't all be wrong, can they? They weren't. The Minnesota Vikings end up losing to the Detroit Lions today, 31-23.
Here we go. Oh, what? Come on!
It was definitely a bleep show, as a lot of people might call it. Not something you want to enjoy. For some reason, I don't know what it is, Detroit fans get under my skin a little bit. Of course, I didn't interact and fight with any, but many years ago, it kind of got that way when I did a YouTube. Before Purple Mafia was called paladinolive, I covered a lot of Viking games on YouTube instead. They were like anywhere from 5 to 7 to 8 minute game reviews. It was fun to do, but the editing took forever, even though it's nothing even that special. There was no special beautiful sound effects or anything, or special effects, video effects, graphics, and all that. But at the same time, you know, I was interesting. I was putting stats on the screen and all that. Detroit fans were very difficult and kind of obnoxious, and they always are when we go there, the Minnesota Vikings. So every now and then we end up losing to Detroit, and it's usually there. And a game like this, where a lot of things just don't go right, and we end up looking kind of silly. Detroit goes up 7-0 after the Vikings go 3 and out, and we fail on a 4th down right away, going 3 and out, and then end up being like 4 and out basically. That was terrific. Then Detroit ends up scoring not too long after that to make it 7-0. And then for like a minute there, it looked like Dalvin Cook might actually have something going. It was a nice play getting into the end zone to tie it up. But after that, it was pretty much all Detroit. After that, even though the Vikings ended up scoring 23 in the game, it felt like Detroit pretty much owned us the rest of the way. The momentum. Can't get mad at the referees in this one, other than maybe Justin Jefferson didn't step out of bounds on the play late. Looked like it should have been a touchdown. Vikings would ultimately get a touchdown later on, but it was kind of sort of too little too late. Well, it was okay. It was the KJ clutch, the final score the Vikings were able to accomplish. All kinds of weird stuff in this game. Could be multiple urban legends as to why the Donahell is just so terrible and how he refuses to make adjustments. And at the end of the game, apparently Kevin O'Connell even went as far as to say that we need to put our players in better positions to succeed. So that's interesting. A lot of people, and that was regarding the defense. So it's the first time Kevin O'Connell has really kind of gone in that direction. So very interesting to hear that one in the post-game threads and conversations. So interesting conversation there. After the Vikings scored their second touchdown, after they'd gone down 21-7 with some awful defense, again, just poor tackling, it seemed like players were always open as well. Jared Goff was able to find players. Obviously, he have to hit the target, so give Jared Goff credit for that. But at the same time, again, just that shell defense. It's like, okay, fine, we'll give you yards. Okay, fine, we'll give you yards. Okay, fine, we'll give you yards. Well, eventually, it's just going to absolutely obliterate you. And enough is enough. How about some deflected passes, some defense, like a couple of weeks ago? Even just last week, there was a lot of deflected passes, and it felt good. Of course, Mike White was a lot later draft pick than Jared Goff, who was the number 1 overall pick years ago of the Los Angeles Rams, right as they moved to Los Angeles. He's certainly stepping up and improving greatly in Detroit. And he's got the gold C on his chest rather than the white C with like 3 stars or 2 stars or 1 star. He's got the gold C with 4 stars. So basically he's the leader of the offense is Jared Goff. He's like a full captain, a lead captain, and that's good. Good for him. He's definitely earned it. And I don't know, he's improving. And again, there's less pressure in Detroit, obviously, versus Los Angeles. Jared Goff, obviously, huge game today. 330 yards, 3 touchdowns, quarterback rating of 120.7. Kirk Cousins was exquisite for the most part when he wasn't on his back. Because the offensive line protection just wasn't there once again. It doesn't help having Christian Darrisaw and Garrett Bradbury out. That certainly was a damning thing for the Minnesota Vikings in this game. I thought Blake Brandel was okay. Even Brian O'Neill got pretty much... Brian O'Neill pretty much got eliminated on one of them, or humiliated is what I'd like to say, on one of them. Again, one of the defensive ends of Detroit getting around and getting the sack later in the game, and one of those crucial drives, and the Vikings thought that we still had a chance to do something, which was most of the way there. We did lose by only 1 score, but Detroit had the ball for such a long time late in the game because our defense wasn't stopping anybody. So, I mean, if you can't stop anybody, there's not a whole lot you can do. There's literally nothing you can do. The clock's just going to keep ticking. Boy, just you watch this as well. It's kind of like Mr. Irrelevant, the Mr. Irrelevant Bowl, as Brock Purdy looks like he's really something. He's Mr. Irrelevant, 7th round pick of the San Francisco 49ers, 3rd string quarterback, 2022 draft, not 21, not 20, not anything like that. Brock Purdy. The Vikings could only dream of taking a quarterback anywhere in the 5th round or later, and him actually being able to complete a pass longer than 20 yards historically. And out here you get Brock Purdy looking purdy, to be quite frank, for the San Francisco 49ers. We'll talk about that more in the second segment, but it's definitely something to see. Tom Brady was a late 6th round pick many years ago. It's just interesting. Could it be out with the old, in with the new, and then the team that Tom Brady grew up watching, the San Francisco 49ers with Joe Montana and later on Steve Young. So quite interesting to imagine that, seeing Tampa get beat, seeing Tampa go down 20-0 or 14-0. Looks like the touchdown was just overturned. That was to Christian McCaffrey, overturned, and now it's a 4th and 5. They say that McCaffrey was out of bounds. Okay, so, well, it was a nice-looking pass. Interesting. Yeah, I thought he was in. I don't know. Maybe it's a bad angle. That probably should be a touchdown. Maybe they can overturn it. San Francisco. Move it out of the way. Move the graphic out of the way. That's a touchdown. Right? I think so. I don't know. We'll see what happens. It doesn't matter really to the Vikings, and I apologize. But it's fun to have a TV screen in front of me rather than to my side like it used to be with a different setup. So definitely helpful. Now I have an optional setup to look outside or to look at the TV. So it's like an option play, whether you hand the ball off or you throw it, You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I don't want to talk about it too much. Justin Jefferson did set a franchise record with 213 yards in the air. Did not get a single touchdown, which is really frustrating. Just imagine if he brought that ball, or if he wasn't called out of bounds, him being Justin Jefferson was able to go all the way. It would have been something closer to 240 yards and a touchdown, which is like off the charts numbers for a wide receiver. TJ Hawkinson early was good. He did have a bad drop in the game, and he often has, which is frustrating. One other play was just out of bounds. Nothing he could really do about it. 6 catches in his return to Detroit, and you'll see me tweet that Detroit fans are morons. They're booing TJ Hawkinson. Like, what did he do? They traded him away. He didn't demand a trade. He didn't hold out. He didn't leave for like a contract double the size of what Detroit offered or anything crazy like that. he didn't have anything awful to say about Detroit. So, I mean, I don't know. Detroit fans are morons. That's just concluded. There's maybe a couple of good ones out there, but not a whole lot, to be quite fair. Delvin Cook again. I mean, there was a play near the end of the half. Vikings had a chance to tie the game up, potentially. To tie the game up. It would have been great. Going into the half. Instead, it was like a jump. It was like a jump option or jump play, basically. I don't even know how to describe it. That's what they call it, basically. And he was basically kind of, I don't know, herky-jerky, didn't really know what to do, and ended up fumbling the ball. It was the most pathetic, stupid thing I've ever seen. Why can't we just put the ball in the end zone instead of trying to get cute? Just put the ball in the end zone. I mean, the pass game was working, and on there it didn't. It kind of reminded me of the Jets game back in 97, where I said, "What are you doing, you GD idiots?" Right as my mom was coming in the room, and I got reprimanded pretty hard. That's an obvious touchdown, by the way. McCaffrey, yeah, it's not the slide. It's the first step before. So he was in the end zone. That's an obvious touchdown. Anyhow, sorry, yeah, you probably already, yeah, this will be long over by the time you're hearing about it, because I don't release the show until later in the evening after the other two segments are done. But no, that made absolutely no sense, and for the most part, Delvin Cook was terrible in the game. I'd go as far as to say he is cooked. Pun intended. He's not been good. 15 rushes, 23 yards, a good for 1.5. Yep, and there it is. Touchdown, San Francisco. And they look really good. That's the one team that could actually prevent the Vikings from having the number 2 seed. We'd still have home field in the first round, but after that, well, nope. Not unless some underdog makes it all the way to the NFC title game, which would be kind of nice, knocking off Philadelphia on the other side. We'd have to then go to San Francisco, which probably wouldn't bode too well, because we like losing to 7th-round picks and backup quarterbacks and guys named Steve Walsh and Jim Miller and all these others that have kind of come and gone over the years. We just love losing to players like that. It's absolutely frustrating beyond belief. C.J. Ham also brought in one. Yay. I mean, that's okay. Greg Joseph made his 141-yard attempt, and he made both of his extra points. Special teams was pretty much shut down the entire game. They couldn't really get anything going. One punt return, and there were 0 kickoff returns, all touchbacks, which is ridiculous. Ryan Wright was fantastic, but unfortunately one of his kicks was returned quite a long ways by Raymond. That was extremely frustrating. But again, time and time again throughout this game, it'd be 3rd and long, or it'd be 4th and 1, or 4th and 2, 4th and whatever the heck it was, 4th and 4, and Detroit would convert either with a trick play or, like the snap to the running back or whatever the heck it was, fake punts. It's just unbelievably frustrating how this game went. The Vikings just could not make a stop. Plain and simple, the defense was non-existent. And if your defense is anything resembling what we saw today versus Detroit, I don't see this team doing anything in the playoffs. Maybe you win a first-round game. You squeak by at home. Yay. You squeak by at home against a team like Washington with a backup quarterback as their starter, or God knows who. A team like Seattle with Geno Smith or whatever. We squeeze by, we beat them, and then go to, we either host San Francisco or Dallas or something like that. And I don't know. I don't like our chances right now. San Francisco's got Kyle Shanahan as an offensive coach. Obviously knows what he's doing. I mean, look what Brock Purdy's accomplishing. It's a very, very talented offense with McCaffrey, Ayuk, and another star player, the star running back, of course. It's, absolutely, it's going to be a very, very tough, tall task to defeat the San Francisco 49ers or the Cowboys, especially with a defense like this. The Cowboys are pretty much tearing through everybody, which I haven't seen Dallas this good since they were winning Super Bowls, honestly. So that kind of sucks. Even throughout the whole Tony Romo era, as good as they were at times, they didn't look this good. Vikings defense was so aggressive and so talented and so stymieing to Jared Goff today, they got 0 sacks. One pass deflection by Jordan Hicks. Congratulations. Congratulations, Jordan. Or at least somebody sort of did something. It actually deflected a pass. That's great. No turnovers or anything cute like that. There were the urban legend of today's game, though, when the Vikings finally were able to score in that third quarter, to cut the lead down to potentially 1/3 of what it was, basically. 21-7 was still, Detroit had scored. Jared Goff to Josh Reynolds and all that. Again, just a defense that was basically non-existent today. Non-existent. Jack Fox, punted twice, and they were both like 50-plus yards. One was 66 yards. That's just absolutely crazy. So, insanely frustrating there, and a touchback in the 20. Or not a touchback, but in the 20. You do not want a touchback if you're a punter. That's a swear word if you're a punter in the NFL. So, again, inability to get the stops on third down, fourth down, this and that, just throughout the game. Again, and only getting Detroit to punt twice in the game. And as the clock kept running and the time of possession kept belonging to Detroit, and the defense for Minnesota kept getting more and more tired. But then again, when we were finally able to complete a really nice drive to get back in the game, like everything's going to be okay now. It's going to be a one-score game. Vikings, you just kick the extra point and it's a 7-point game. Instead, you go for 2, which that's an urban legend to me. What is in the minds of these young coaches that do this kind of stuff? And you keep talking about you don't want to be cute. You don't want to get cute. So you do that weird jump play that ends up being a fumble at the end of the half. It costs you a golden opportunity to tie the game up at the half. I mean, of course, tying the game up at the half, the momentum's on your side. Do you realize that? And then you do a stupid play like that leads to a fumble. So the momentum goes completely back to Detroit. Like, ha, you couldn't do anything. You completely blew it. Nah, boo-boo, basically. And then, okay, a little tiny bit of momentum shift back in our direction. We go for 2 and don't even gain a bleeping yard on a cute little short pass. What the hell were you thinking? Like, seriously, it was a nice 23-yard play to Adam Thielen to get the touchdown. That was great. Thielen made the catch and was able to turn direction and get in the end zone. But then it's like a little dink and dunk or whatever type of play that gives you nothing. It looked like Mike Zimmer coaching offense, if there's such a possibility, or Clint Kubiak under Mike Zimmer would make a whole lot more sense. This was probably the worst coached Minnesota Vikings game of the year, I think, in a lot of ways. I think because this was a winnable game. Sure, Detroit's playing well, but obviously the Minnesota Vikings offense, generally speaking, played pretty well too. At least between Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson. Kirk Cousins with 405 yards, 126.5 quarterback rating, with the defensive line of Detroit flying at him the entire game. Every single time Kirk Cousins let go of the ball, you'd see him flail backwards because he got hit. So he was getting hurried, he got hit, he was chucking and ducking, and blankety blank. Think about words that rhyme with chuck and duck, and you can imagine what that might be. 405 yards in the air. Again, while he was getting, manhandled by the Detroit defense as he was getting rid of the ball, and took 4 sacks in the game. Unfortunately, only 3 are recorded here, so I don't understand what that means. But who knows? Maybe they took one away. Who cares? Who knows? Oh, what the heck? It's like stuck with 1:20 left. Come on. That's pretty dumb. Where's that 4th sack? It's still not showing it. Okay, I guess they took it out. They disallowed one of the sacks. Ooh, I bet that guy's mad right now, right? No bonus for you this week, right? Okay, sorry. 223 yards is official because Justin Jefferson did get one more catch. Oh boy, that's embarrassing. That's funny. So I apologize. There was one more catch. Of course, again, it was garbage time. We were down by 11 with 17 seconds left. I mean, yay, he made another catch. So I'm happy he was able to make another catch and make the record a little bit tougher to break now that he now holds. 223 yards is your franchise record. The stat that drives you crazy, those 0 touchdowns, drives you crazy. Again, one of them, he probably should have been in bounds. I mean, I don't think that was the right call there, but generally speaking, I'm not mad at the refs for this game. A lot of calls went against Detroit, so again, I can't blame the Pinstripes too much. Maybe just on that one single play. Again, going for 2 though, when you have a chance to be within 7 or whatever, doesn't make sense. I don't get it. It's kind of cute and everything. It's a cute idea. Yay, we can maybe have a 6-point deficit now, or something. Or like if you're the team that just scored, you're the team that's ahead, you can have an 8-point lead. Oh, now it'll make it harder on the other team. But what if you blow it though? What if you blow it? Now it's worse. So I just think that's stupid. And then you wind up in a position where it's an 11-point deficit instead of a 10-point deficit with like a minute left. You're not going to win that game. You're just not, unless you have the biggest luck ever, which happens like every decade or so. It's just like a couple of cute bounces of the ball, and maybe you might have a chance. But playing like that is just not going to get the job done. Making decisions like that, I don't know. I'm kind of done with a lot of that. Let's come back to earth. Let's try to make a little more sense if we can, if humanly possible. When it comes to that, just kick the extra point. Even though Mr. What's-His-Name has been insanely frustrating, it's higher percentage than going for 2, especially with the way the game was going. I don't know. Just keep getting your yards, score, and maybe get a damn stop once in a while. Just make a damn stop. Maybe we might have a chance to win the game, especially with the wide receiver that's catching everything coming his way, a quarterback that's making insanely accurate passes, 425 total yards. Yep, because of that one extra completion. That's what I heard, 425. So I was kind of looking at it, and something was in my head saying, that's not the same number I remember. I remember seeing and hearing. So, yeah, 425. Kirk Cousins had the same passing yards in the tie game versus Green Bay years ago. His actual second game as a Minnesota Vikings starting quarterback back in 2018. Him being Kirk Cousins, of course. And, of course, Mike Hughes also, again, another former player having a good game against the Vikings. Now, to make 7 tackles, you have to have given up a play, which he did quite a bit for the Minnesota Vikings when he was here. But he had a very nice game. Of course, a lot of those tackles were on short plays. So Mike Hughes gave him credit there for making the tackle rather than Minnesota Vikings side not only giving up plays but missing tackles time and time again. You're not hearing from Zadarius Smith at all anymore. Donahell Hunter, it's like he doesn't exist, basically. Donahell Hunter had 0 in the game. 0 tackles, 0 assists, nothing. Zilch, nada. Basically, Zadarius Smith had 1 assist tackle. That's it. 1 assisted tackle, not even a solo. No sacks, no pass deflections, no turnovers, nothing. That's not going to get it done either. Yes, his knee is hurt and all that, a bit bitten and all that. But if he's healthy enough to play, you're hoping he could do something. And absolutely nothing happened. And again, you combine Zadarius Smith and Donahell Hunter, 2 guys that were a wrecking crew against teams earlier in the season, to have a total combined of 1 assisted sack, or tackle, not sack, in the entire game. That is some blankety blank. That's some gobbledygook, to prevent myself from going off and cursing my head off in this game. The Fran Tarkington Award winner for this episode, Justin Jefferson, has to get it with a 223, but the fact that he didn't score a touchdown, I have to have him share it with Kirk Cousins. I'm going to do it because I think Kirk Cousins played a beautiful game. If the Vikings win this game, Kirk Cousins has a huge reason why they would win the game. They both, Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins, were on the same page in this game. It was a beautiful day, and they did a great job out there. It's just a damn shame the defense didn't get the job done, and there was literally no running game whatsoever. Dalvin Cook will bring in the Christian Ponder Memorial. He was absolutely worthless. I'm just going to say it. He was worthless. And people talking about trading him in the offseason, obviously a very notable person. You'll hear him. Mad Martin out of Northern Scotland, yes. Trading him in the offseason, if you can do it, yeah. I would definitely lean in that direction. Surely there's a running back in the draft you can take. There is. There's running backs everywhere. Obviously, there's skill level. There's a skill level with this guy compared to that guy. But Dalvin Cook isn't special anymore. He's not. The shine is gone. The shine has worn off on Dalvin Cook. I'm sorry. And that's NFL. That's not for long. Wide receivers tend to last a little longer. Quarterbacks, in some cases, last a whole heck of a lot longer. Defensive linemen do too. Unfortunately for running backs, including Chuck Borman way back in the day, they just don't last long. And it's a doggone shame. Dalvin Cook with a lot of serious injuries throughout his career that have taken their toll, and he's not that good anymore. He's just not. He'll have a couple of good moments, like, oh my God, who was doubting him? Wow, he got 100 yards, and he had that big burst in the end zone, that 70-yard burst. But what did he do the rest of the game? 2 yards in a cloud of dust? Okay, that's great. That's all today was. 2 yards in a cloud of dust. Oh, sorry, not even that. He had a long of 5. A long of 5. He did get in the end zone. Great play, right? Great play, but it was one play. I do appreciate that he got in the end zone because, well, it's a lot better than the stupid 2-point conversion nonsense that we screwed up. But at the same time, I thought he was terrible, along again with the fumble. But just to be nice to Delvin Cook, Danielle Hunter, and Zadarius Smith, you get to share it. It's going to be a trifecta today. So there's your big bet there on DraftKings. Joey's going to pick 3 players, not one, but 3 players to bring in the Christian Ponder Memorial. There's your big home run bet right there. Instead of $100, you win $300 right there with that trifecta. Congratulations. Do enjoy. Do enjoy, right? I'm just messing around, but that is your Christian Ponder Memorial. It's going to be 3 players, 2 on defense, 1 on offense at the end of the day. So with that, we'll take a quick break, and we get to look at the rest of the National Football League. The 49ers are surging. Watch out. The 49ers are surging. The Jacksonville Jaguars are surging. The Jaguars are surging. Surging. Sorry. Yep, and we'll look at all the other teams. New York Giants, yeah, they got obliterated by Philadelphia. We'll play them next week. And unfortunately, a very serious injury being carted off here with San Francisco. God, another injury for an important 49er player. That sucks. Yep, being carted away. That totally sucks. So with that, we will take a quick break. Oh yeah, it's Asante Samuel. So that sucks. Debu Samuel. What am I talking about? Not Asante. Debu Samuel. Oh, great. Well, I guess don't watch out for the 49ers, even though they're killing the Bucs. Yeah, if Debu Samuel's being driven away, that is not good. Maybe he's okay, but I doubt it. Yeah. Oh, that sucks. Well, he's hoping and praying for the best, but took a long time to get him off the field. That's not a good sign. So we'll see. Get better, Debu. That sucks. With that, sorry for ending the segment that way, but we'll talk about the Giants and the rest of the NFL right after this. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is my go-to when betting on the NFL this Christmas season. Same-game parlays, easy and fast payouts, player prop options. I mean, just go for it. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Check this out. Right now, everyone can earn up to a 100% boost with DraftKings stepped-up same-game parlays. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, place a same-game parlay, and combine multiple bets like which team will win, player props, point totals, and more. The more legs you add, the bigger the boost, the bigger your shot to win big. So, obviously, very worth it. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code TPPN. That's right, TPPN. Place a $5 bet on any NFL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code TPPN. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. And we are back here on Purple Mafia, segment number 2. Time to look around the NFL. Of course, next week's opponent is the New York Football Giants, or the New York Football not so giant anymore. There were giants in the land. Yep, the Nephilim, the New York Nephilim. No, I'm kidding. That's pretty bad. Nephilim, actually, but yeah, because giants were very, very evil in the Bible. Nephilim. So I'll just leave that alone for a different podcast called Freedom of Thought. Maybe we'll get into that sometime. But yeah, we'll play the New York Football Giants. Got to look around the league, division, and all that. Of course, they played a divisional team today, so that's always a nice thing. Of course, right now, I'm starting segment number 2 a little later than normal, just because it's a busy day. The San Diego Los Angeles Chargers of Anaheim are playing against the Miami Dolphins, who have not scored a single point yet in the game. Very strange, even though it's the second quarter already. Let's get to Las Vegas Raiders versus the Los Angeles Rams. Just absolute exquisite. Dear Thursday night. Well, see, Thursday night, I bet you there was a time you would have expected this to be actually a decent matchup, right? The Las Vegas Raiders were kind of improving last year. Just, and they were improving. They had that nice special teams coach who took over, did a good job, and then they didn't give him the job. Great, because Josh McDaniels was available. Wow, Josh McDaniels, boy. Well, all that success he had in Denver, come on. Yeah. Anyhow, but enough about the Denver Broncos having success with highfalutin offensive coordinators and stuff. Los Angeles Rams win their 4th game of the year, their whopping 4th game of the year over the Las Vegas Raiders, who might as well be LOSS Vegas Raiders because they stink this year, except for a couple of weeks in a row of meaningless wins. Kind of like basketball teams winning in April and then thinking they're hot stuff after they've missed the playoffs. Well, now that I've babbled way too much about that already, let's get the heck moving here. Things were going well for the Raiders and then went literally kablooey not long after that. Just an epic comeback, baby, right, for the Los Angeles Rams, scoring 14 points, a couple of touchdowns in the final 3 minutes and 25 seconds, basically, after Daniel Carlson made it 16-3. Epic score, right? Beautiful. Daniel Carlson with a 36-yard kick, a 31-yard kick, a 52-yard kick, and then Matt Gay had a 55-yard kick also in the game. So the kickers were kicking the ball all over the place. Josh Jacobs, Mr. Tecmo Football, Mr. Tecmo Bowl, Tecmo Football, with 27 rushes, but only about 4 yards a carry. Not even quite that. Still better than Dalvin Cook this past week. Derek Carr, a couple of INTs, a quarterback rating in the 30s. That sucks. Baker Mayfield, epic performance. He didn't turn the ball over. Baker Mayfield didn't turn the ball over, and he beat the Las Vegas Raiders with a single touchdown with 230 yards. Good for him. Threw it to Cam Akers, who, no, he didn't throw it to Cam Akers. He handed off to him. Van Jefferson is who he threw the ball to. So I'm just being goofy here already. But, we'll see. Maybe Baker Mayfield, another number 1 overall pick who is not all that great, winding up with the LA Rams. Jared Goff was a decent player for them, and he might end up having a better career in Detroit. We'll see. He was on a team that got to the Super Bowl and everything, was Jared Goff, but I think that defense was a big part of why they got there, which is ironic and funny considering how the Rams are absolutely known for offense. But that year, that defensive line was phenomenal, and it helped get the Rams to the Super Bowl. But they kind of kept the Patriots in check, but the Patriots defense was even better. Blah, 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 blah. Let's keep going. The game is over. New York Jets lost another one, unfortunately. So Robert Saleh getting another loss. 7-6 record now, 3rd place in the AFC East. The Buffalo Bills are just like the Vikings, 10-3. So one thing that'll make you feel better, at least for a minute here, is considering the Buffalo Bills at 10-3, 1st place in the AFC East, and the top seed in the AFC would lose the tiebreaker to the Minnesota Vikings should the playoffs all being together today. So imagine we were all in the same bracket and everything, that the Minnesota Vikings would actually have the number 1 seed in the AFC. So interesting thing to think about because of that. At least I think we would. Yep, because we beat Buffalo, so we'd at least be ahead of them. And it's kind of impressive, actually. Cincinnati Bengals, well, actually, we'll look at the Jets game for a second here. The Buffalo Bills game was more like it, considering who won the game. Neither quarterback stood out a whole lot. Mike White, I think, is what he is. And then Joe Flacco just kind of, he attempted 3 passes, and not a whole lot to brag about there. Mike White attempted 44 passes. Not sure what's going on with all that, other than they were playing from behind most of the way. So, in fact, they pretty much were, except for they pretty much were most of the game. Buffalo's defense kind of stymied those Jets until early in the 3rd quarter. So, kind of funny how that all turned out. The game kind of started waking up again in the second half, and the Bills win 20-12. Woohoo. Again, nobody really stood out all that much. Naheem Hines, a couple of nice kick returns of about 20 yards each. Good for him. Stephon Diggs only 37 yards on 3 catches. Not that exciting of a football game. Cincinnati hosted the Cleveland Browns and are now 9-4, 2nd place in the AFC North. Cincinnati Bengals, the future AFC champions, maybe. We'll have to wait and see. Joe Burrow, who I put in for the MVP vote because I'm not a fan of the other guys. Sorry, it's nothing personal, it's business. I'm just not a fan. And, I like Joe Burrow. The other Joe Mixon had 96 yards on the ground at 7 yards a carry. Very impressive. And Jamar Chase, who's about as good a receiver as there is, He's the other Justin Jefferson, basically, playing for the Cincinnati Bengals. He is the other Justin Jefferson from the same school, which is the craziest thing ever. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. Just put that together and wrap your head around the thought of that, and it's like, holy cow, that's impressive. Deshaun Watson, Mr. Impressive himself, attempted 42 yards. I know, I'm just screwing around. Attempted 42 passes anyway. Threw for 276 yards, had an INT and a touchdown, and we're happy for him. Donovan Peoples-Jones with 114 yards on 8 catches from Watson, but oh well. Cincinnati got the job done, which matters most. Sam Hubbard with a sack. And on the Cleveland Browns side, Myles Garrett, the stud Myles Garrett, with a couple of sacks on Joe Burrow. So they actually protected Burrow reasonably well, except for those 2 sacks from Garrett. The Texas Bowl, the Dallas Cowboys hosting the Houston Texans. The Cowboys were scoring, 40 points against the Vikings and smoking the Colts on, was it Sunday Night Football last week? Just absolutely obliterated them. It was disgusting. The Colts looked like they didn't belong on the same field, in the same planet. And the Houston Texans are the worst team in the league. I mean, it's safe to say, 1-11-1. They are the worst team in football. Kept the Cowboys to 27, and they actually almost won the game, actually, until the fourth quarter when the Cowboys said, yeah, we better wake up and play here. This is kind of stupid. They were trailing 23-17. The Cowboys wind up getting the job done and winning the game. So that's kind of how it is. Cowboys got their touchdown and their field goal. Woohoo. Started with Brett Maher with its 53-yarder, and then Zeke Elliott was able to have a goal line smash basically into the end zone from 2 yards out anyway, and put the Cowboys up with 46 seconds left. Way to go, Houston, blowing that, but again, way to go to Dallas by screwing around the whole game. So that's nothing to brag about either. Prescott with a couple of INTs. Davis Mills wasn't all that great, and Jeff Driscoll actually was pretty good. And only 6 attempts, but was very efficient, including a touchdown pass. So good for Jeff Driscoll. Jeff. Cowboys win the football game and are 10-3, which thankfully, when you win a division title and Dallas is not in first place in their division, the tiebreaker doesn't hurt us. So, boo-boo Dallas. Minnesota, you gotta just keep winning and at least stay where you're at and win that division, and hope that Philadelphia loses once in a while, or that they just flat out choke in their conference or their second round game there after the first round bye. Jacksonville Jaguars continue to win games. They're 5-8, yay, 36-22, beating a Tennessee team that just fired the general manager. Wow, I thought they did pretty good, but things were kind of falling apart there. They're still in first place in the AFC South, but I guess that's not saying a whole lot when you consider the Texans are in that division. Garbage. Trevor Lawrence had an absolutely spectacular game, attempting 42 passes, but completing 30 of them, 3 touchdowns and no turnovers. What do you think of that? Donahell, mediocre at best. Again, was very efficient the last couple of years. This year's just not been a good year, and everything's just kind of falling apart in Tennessee. But I would keep Vrabel around. I think he's a damn good coach. So they just maybe need to get some better personnel, and hopefully Vrabel can, lead the way to some more success. It's just not been a good year after a pretty solid start. Evan Ingram receiving 11 catches for 162 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Trevor Lawrence definitely stepping it up a bit. Again, he was a phenom in the draft a couple of years back, and it's starting to show signs of it. Neither quarterback was sacked in the entire game. Interesting. So we'll continue to move here for the sake of time. Next week's opponent, New York and Philly. We'll come back to that later, and it was not a good day for the Giants. The old Pittsburgh Black and Blue Bowl. You could say Baltimore and Pittsburgh. This was a pretty epic rivalry for quite a while in the late 2000s. And into the early teens, we'll say, of the 2000s, the 20 teens. Baltimore and Pittsburgh, awesome rivalry in the AFC North. Always battling for first place. The other team would be the wild card. Whenever Baltimore was good, though, it was really cool to watch. I'd often cheer for Baltimore over Pittsburgh. But, now it kind of sort of doesn't matter because Pittsburgh is not even close to what they used to be. Mitch Trubisky is their quarterback. Need I say more? 3 INTs in the game. And, of course, Lamar Jackson's out for like a month, I think. So it is what it is there. Tyler Huntley throws for 88 yards. I'll say that again. Like Bob Bierman of Truth to Ponder would say, let me say that again. He threw for 88 yards. and then 16 yards from Anthony Brown. All right, then. Well, J.K., he was just kidding, Dobbins, had 120 yards on the ground, averaged 8 yards a carry. Gus Edwards with 66 yards on the ground, and Tyler Hundley also scampered for 31 throughout the game. Overall, very impressive game on the ground for the Baltimore Ravens, so good for them. They end up winning the game, kind of an ugly black and blue 16-14 type of day. They get the job done. Congratulations, Baltimore, as they move on, heading in the right direction. And then T.J. Watt, the younger brother of J.J. Watt, T.J. Watt of the Pittsburgh Steelers. A lot of people thought that they would wind up together, but it never happened. And I think I bring that up way too often. I apologize if that's the case. And there's somebody named Marcus Allen on the Pittsburgh defense as well. Interesting. But he doesn't play running back just like somebody else long ago. Kansas City Chefs versus the Denver dead dogs. The Denver dead donkeys. That basically is what they are right now. I'm not going to bring it up again. But their quarterback's too expensive and they stink. Yep, and the coach sucks too. So they're 3-10, and the Chiefs are 10-3. I'm not a Chiefs fan at all. I think I've mentioned that way too much. But I don't know. Patrick Mahomes did throw for 3 INTs to go with his 3 touchdowns. And honest to God, Russell Wilson had one of his best games of the year with his 3 TDs. But he had an interception in the game. And Brett Ripien, son of old Mark Ripien of the world champion Washington Redskins, the team that played in the Metrodome in Super Bowl 26 long ago after the 91 season, because Doug Williams wasn't available to be quarterback. Mark Ripien led that team to a championship over Jim Kelly and the Buffalo Bills for their second straight loss in the Super Bowl, unfortunately. Yeah, Isaiah Pacheco celebrates more than he runs the ball with 13 rushes for 70 yards. Jerick McKinnon had 112 yards receiving. Some of those catches and scampers, very impressive. One went for 56 and 2 touchdowns in the game for former Minnesota Vikings, Jerick McKinnon. It's like, would you rather have him or Delvin Cook? I don't know. Okay, it doesn't matter. Jerick McKinnon's actually older, isn't he? So it's kind of funny to think about, or they're about the same. Jerick's actually slightly older, but he's missed so much freaking time. So I don't know. He's hung on nicely, and he's got that little speed. Kansas City with an incredible pass rush on Russell Wilson throughout the day. Looks like 6 total sacks in the game. Very impressive. And Justin Jewell of the Denver Broncos had 2 interceptions. Impressive performance from him as well. Frustrating Patrick Mahomes, but it still wasn't enough. Chiefs win. 34-28. You can hear the excitement in my voice. Well, I'll get more excited about this one. San Francisco is now 9-4. They're first place in the NFC West. Watch out, Minnesota. That's all I got to say. We need to watch out. We are going up against, potentially going up against in a playoff game or a pennant race or whatever you want to call it. I'm just calling it that for fun. We're going up against a guy who was taken at the end of the NFL draft in 2022. And he's got to easily be, at least from what he's done so far, the best bargain in the NFL right now. The best bargain there is on the planet, considering he was taken at the end of the 7th round of the draft. And I think he's a real quarterback. Shame on Minnesota, shame on Detroit, shame on Chicago, shame on Miami, shame on every team in the league except for Kansas City, I guess. And I don't know, I guess the Chargers, I don't know. Is Justin Herbert that good? I guess he is. Tua's fine, obviously, but he's not doing good right now. Well, I guess they did score a touchdown. Okay, whatever. Shame on Tampa for not taking Brock Purdy. This might be just a quick little sugar high, quick little beginner's luck type of thing. But his release on the ball is legitimate. There's something there. And he set all kinds of records for the Iowa State Cyclones. Yes, there is a football team called the Iowa State Cyclones. It's a pretty solid basketball program in the NCAA. Brock Purdy, yep. He looks a lot like a couple people that I used to know. A guy named Jason Violet way back in the day who was from San Francisco, who used to work at Hopkins High School. He's a few years older than me. Looks a lot like him. I think he really looks like him. And looks a little bit like a technician at my job named Mike Hoffman. He looks kind of like that guy too. A very intelligent guy who moved up very quickly to Tech 4. So he looks kind of like that. So maybe this Brock Purdy is a very intelligent guy who's going to climb the ladder very quickly. Just think about it. The 41st pick in the 7th round of the 2022 NFL Draft. So it's like literally just months ago, well, several months now, but less than a year ago, he was drafted at the end of the draft. He is now quarterbacking a 9-4 San Francisco 49ers team with all kinds of weapons, and he's hitting his targets. Let's just tell it like it is. He's hitting targets. Yeah, he threw 2 interceptions, during the course of the season. His numbers aren't all that sexy and all that, but he didn't throw, he was good today. 2 touchdowns, and the 49ers blow the crap out of Tom Brady and the Bucs. Yeah, they did. They blew out the Tom Brady-led Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady attempted 55 passes in the game. There was some calls that went against Tampa that had Tom Brady flipping out, and I don't blame him. Was it Evans? I think it was the other guy. Yeah, I think it was. Was it Evans or Goodwin? I think it was Goodwin. Looked like he was, you're jamming the route as they're trying to throw a touchdown on 4th down there. A goal, going for it on 4th and goal, basically, what Tampa was doing. The route was jammed, but it looked like more of it should have probably been a personal, pass interference, whatever, personal foul, pass interference, defensive pass interference, now that I've said that 50 times. And it never came. Tom Brady was irate, and it ended up costing him. So it was actually on 3rd down, then they went for it, and then, of course, the ball was dropped by the other guy, Evans. So that was kind of all she wrote there. It's been a huge disappointment. Very big disappointment in Tampa. It's too bad. It kind of is what it is. Brady with a couple of INTs. Again, they were kind of desperate to get back in the game. Brady never sat out, even in a blowout game like this. It's just, I don't know, maybe he's got a little bit of that, too much of that Cal Ripken virus in him, where it's just, dude, it's a blowout. Let someone else have like a cup of coffee in the NFL, will you? You're like 90 years old. Just sit out. Just sit out. And I never criticize Tom Brady. He's like my all-time favorite football player, basically. Him and Joe Montana, guys like that, all time. But, dude, that's a little bit too much for me. Like, why are you still playing in a game like that? Even if it is in your hometown and all that, your home area, basically. Sit down. Sit down. You're getting blown to bits. It's not worth it. Let someone else have a cup of coffee, unless that person didn't want to play, which, why would that be? If I was a backup quarterback of the Buccaneers, I'd want to play. Give me a chance. Maybe I could be your starter in a year or two. But nope, can't do that. Oh no, it's against the rules. Seattle hosting the Carolina Panthers, and the Panthers win again. What is going on? Carolina was pretty much competing with the Houston Texans once upon a time for the number 1 overall pick in the draft. And now they're screwing that up. They're not going to get it. They're not going to. What's the point? Like, you've already got 8 losses. Like, who cares? I guess it feels good to win a couple games and be closer to 500 instead of being like 2-15 or something. I get that, because that's about what Houston's going to be. They're probably going to be 1-15-1. I don't think Houston wins another game this year, and they'll be lucky if they do. Sam Darnold, just a failed first-round pick, who's like adequate at times. I guess he's slightly better than what the other guy was, the Bakerfield. Who cares about him? Darnold, well, at least he didn't throw an interception. But Carolina wins the game because Geno Smith threw a couple of interceptions. He's definitely been dropping off a bit. And technically right now, Seattle is on the outside looking in when it comes to the wild card. With their 6th loss of the season, Seattle would miss the playoffs if the season ended today. New York and Washington, with their stupid tie, are both 7 wins and 5 losses, so they're technically ahead of the Seattle Seahawks because of that, percentage-wise. The Minnesota Vikings currently would play the New York Giants in the first round. Vikings win that game, and we will be playing them next week also, and I think we probably win that too. But I would hope so anyway. But put it this way, if the Vikings season ends losing to the New York Giants in a wild card game, huge disappointment. And of course you got to let go of Donahell, probably Black Monday as they call it, after the game. Like, Donahell, sorry buddy, it's been good. With all due respect, we got to go in another direction. There's conversation about Fangio, of course, and the current coach of the Los Angeles Chargers, pardon me. He's part of the Fangio Donahell tree, but the better part of it, let's just say, because the Donahell part of the tree is kind of like, you got to put the red line on the trunk and move on from that one. You got to cut that tree down. It's finished. It's done. So, that might sound harsh, but it's true. Sorry. I think most of you would agree with that. Again, Miami and the Los Angeles Chargers on the screen right now. 10-7 Miami Dolphins. I'm going to fess up. For some reason, I thought the Vikings were playing the New York Giants, but I don't know why. So I remembered it was supposed to be the Colts, and the Giants was actually Christmas Eve. So I'm going to preview the Indianapolis Colts right away right now and talk about the history of the two teams. The Indianapolis Colts are 24th in passing yards, 27th in rushing yards, 24th in yards per game. The last game they played was against the Dallas Cowboys, that big fat blowout loss. So, I mean, how much can you go off of that? I'm not so sure. But it is a team that's pretty much like going nowhere right now. 4-8-1. They looked like crap most of the season anyway. So, I mean, what more is there to really say about what the Colts are done? I mean, what they've done. They're 30th in points scored on the season, 24th in total yards per game. Passing yards are 14th because Matt Ryan still has a little bit of something, but 13 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. See, the one good thing about playing a team coming off a bye is at least all the numbers are accurate coming in. It's not like, well, they played today and it's not edited yet. So Matt Ryan will probably be the quarterback. He beat the Vikings a few times as a Falcons quarterback in the past. They're decent against passing though, which is interesting. 4th in the league there. 9th in total yards against. Their points against per game is 19th, so they give up points, interestingly. And there's 21st in rushing yards, so Dalvin Cook does have an opportunity to do a little bit of something. 12th in sacks with 32, and they only have 5 interceptions in the season, so that's one of the lowest overall. Jonathan Taylor with 861 yards on the ground and 4 touchdowns. He's fumbled 3 times as well. Michael Pittman Jr. leads the team in receiving with 755 yards. So let's look at the history a bit here. Not too much, and I don't want to babble too much about it. The Indianapolis Colts have dominated the Vikings historically, going back to the Baltimore Colts days, of course. I called them Indianapolis last week when the Jets beat them in the Super Bowl. They were at Baltimore still, of course. Johnny Unitas at quarterback. 18-7-1. We've actually tied this club. The Colts have won 6 in a row versus the Vikings. I don't think that's going to continue, but it's been pretty ugly. Again, the Baltimore Colts they beat the Vikings barely way back in 61. And believe it or not, the beer called Colt 45 originated from a Baltimore Colts running back that wore number 45. So Colt 45 going way back in the day. Baltimore Colts, Colt 45. Interesting, huh? Well, the Colts score 45 points once in a while, but not too often. It felt like they scored 45 million points against the Vikings. The Vikings didn't win their 3rd game against the Colts until 1969. It looked like these teams played every year, and in some cases, more than once a season. We must have been in the same division or something. It sure looks like it. I think so, because, yeah, look at that. 61, 62, 63, 64, 60. Geez, it was like every year we played the Baltimore Colts. So, I don't know. It couldn't have been. Yeah, it had to be, because Baltimore played New York in the Super Bowl. And then eventually they went to the AFC, I guess, at some point. So Baltimore must have been in the NFL before it was the NFC. It was the National League like baseball. But the Colts, again, my God. I mean, we're talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The Colts, we were 2-12 versus the Colts until the Vikings won 52-14 over a decent Baltimore team in 69 to crush. They were the defending, NFC or NFL champions at the time, the Colts, interestingly, because they lost to the Giants, of course, or the Jets, pardon me. I don't want to talk about the Giants right now. I really don't. That'll be next week. Baltimore Colts, though, 24-14 over the Vikings in 68 in a playoff game that was in the Western Conference Championship. So the Vikings actually could have went to the Super Bowl that year, interestingly enough. Interesting. And then the Vikings finally beat them the next year, but ultimately went to the Super Bowl much later, so that season. Vikings then won 5 in a row. Colts then, since then, wow, that's incredible. So it's crazy to think. We played the Colts like how many times? Like 14, 15 times in like 10 years, right? And then 69-71. So it was kind of like, then it became like every other year. It was like 69 and then 71. And then all of a sudden, 1982, 11 years later, 6 years later in 88. So the Vikings won 5 in a row from 71 all the way up to 97. And that was only 5 games from 71 to 97. Wrap your head around that thought. That 97 Vikings team beat a terrible, pathetic Colts team that wound up taking Peyton Manning in the draft. We finally won a game at the end of 97 to clinch a playoff berth. after we had such a good team that fell off the face of the earth. And then ultimately the Colts, we beat the Colts. Chris Carter did a Metrodome leap, which didn't happen back in those days. It was like a Lambeau leap and all that. But then the Colts ever since then have been undefeated, 6-0. 2000 with Peyton Manning kicked our butts. Peyton Manning was undefeated against the Vikings, by the way, including with Denver, which who knows might have happened in the Super Bowl if we somehow played them in 2009. We will never know. But 31-10, Peyton Manning kicked our butts, but that was on Christmas Eve, and what's-his-name was injured anyway. Culpepper had a high ankle sprain. I keep talking about that when the Vikings lost their last 4 games of the season. Peyton Manning just ran all over us in that game. And then there was a real close one in 94 where Manning ran it in for a touchdown to take the lead, and the Colts ended up winning the game 31-28. Colts win 18-15 in 2008. Mediocre, frustrating game there. 2012 with Andrew Luck, they beat us in an early game there. Andrew Luck was the quarterback by then, if I remember correctly. Pretty sure he was. 16, Luck came in, and I thought Zimmer could have been fired after that game. 34-6. Vikings were still in the playoff hunt at that time, and Luck and Sacco came in and torched the crap out of the Vikings. 34-6. And then most recently, the Colts, of course, moving to Indianapolis many years ago, won 28-11, most recently in 2020, a terrible Vikings team in Zimmer's second last season in Minnesota. So I think the Vikings should be able to beat this mediocre, yucky Colts team. There's a pretty good chance the Vikings win their last 4 games of the regular season. Maybe we'd squeak out one loss, but I don't think it's this one. It's probably going to be Green Bay or Chicago that'll beat us. Probably going to be one of the division games. I don't think the Colts or the Giants beat the Vikings, so you can kind of jump ahead and think that way at the end of the day, but we'll see. Maybe the Giants will beat us, or maybe they'll all have a different vibe of them going into next week. Right now, I think the Vikings win comfortably over the Indianapolis Colts, something along the likes of, it's not going to be too high scoring. Let's say 20, medium, 28-20. Vikings win by 28-17. Vikings win comfortably by 11 over the Colts and end that long losing streak dating back to 1997. We haven't beat the Colts since 97. Isn't that weird? So, I don't know. It's strange, but this Colts team doesn't scare me at all. They had Peyton Manning forever, and then they had Andrew Luck. So, those days are over, of course. 2020, I'm trying to think of that. Was Luck still playing? I don't think he was. I have to look at that super quick. Phillip Rivers, that's right. That's weird. That's really weird. But yeah, Phillip Rivers, I remember now. He had a great game against us. Or he wasn't great. He was just good. And the Vikings just were crappy that year. So, whatever. We'll move on from that. Again, sorry if I'm stumbling and bumbling around thinking the Vikings are playing the Giants. It was actually the Colts. So, with that, we'll take a quick break and return for fan interaction. And we are back here on Purple Mafia, third segment, final segment of the show, fan interaction, or at least I would hope that's what it is. Hoping to get caught up in where I was. Well, I had it there, but of course I like to mess around. At Purple Mafia Show, at Purple Mafia Show. I want to thank the Pigskin Podcast Network for retweeting the most recent episode. Malcolm McSween out of California. I believe there's another group of people that retweeted it, but maybe not. Maybe it was just 2 guys, and if it is, that's okay. Really appreciate those of you that have done that. And those of you that did it in the past that normally do it, maybe you didn't this time, and maybe you did do it, and you just, maybe you did do it, and it's not showing it. So, apologize for that. Just in case. What was I talking about? So, Blind Squirrel. Yep, I was saying Hughes didn't do anything for us. Now he's magically a decent cornerback. That figures. Blind Squirrel responds with healthy. Well, yeah. Because even a blind squirrel is right once in a while, right? Okay, or a blind squirrel finds an acorn, right? Okay, sorry. I was saying how that was pathetic or whatever. Mad Martin says, in Northern Scotland, what I've seen so far is rubbish. Perhaps I should have not rushed back to watch. Yeah, because he was saying something about, like, yeah, how was the first half? And I said it was just awful, basically. I forget what happened there. Yeah, how was the first half? I said pretty awful, honestly, especially in the last few plays. Yeah, like the fumble by Cook and all that. That was disgusting. Yep. Matt Martin says our run game is trash. Trade Cook in the offseason? And I was saying I would. I'm about ready to stick a fork in the guy. And Matt Martin says absolutely need the cap space. That was a brave move on 4th and 4, but hell, they needed the points. Yep, that was to Adam Thielen. Ended up catching the ball for the first down, but then also had enough space in front of him to get all the way into the end zone. That was pretty cool. Matt Martin says Adam Thielen has 43 receiving touchdowns since 2018, the same amount as Stephon Diggs. That's impressive. Yep, very impressive. That's actually really cool. So, interesting. Matt Martin says, yep, keep it a one-score game, and unfortunately we didn't. Matt Martin again says, this is painful to watch. I said, this defense sucks. I said it. I'm not sure I'm the first. I'm sure I'm not the first, and I won't be the last. And Sebastian and MVF like that one. Matt Martin says, Cook, 15 rush attempts and only 24 yards. Yeah, it's pathetic. Pathetic. I was saying, he is, for lack of a better word, cooked, which almost could have been the title of this episode. We'll figure out something along the way. I had something earlier and my mind's blanking. Of course it is. Matt Martin says, well, a right tackle with a first down reception sums up the game perfectly. Yeah, that was really frustrating. Yeah, that made me beyond angry. Was it Sewell, right? Oh my God, that was really embarrassing. And I remember him in the draft years ago, but yeah, he was on the outside, like looking to be a receiver. He was an eligible receiver. Nobody was on him, and he made the catch for a first down. It was like a 3rd and something, basically. 3rd and 4 or something like that. And there it was. It's just like, seriously, it's a stupid. I think it was like longer than that, like 3rd and 7. So dumb. MVF, that'd be Victorious, says Ed Swiss Cheese Donahell. Yep, it says defensive coordinator Ed Donahell. Yep, Ed the Swiss Cheese. He looks like a football guy, doesn't he? But unfortunately, yeah, and I was telling him he nailed it, but the Ed Swiss Cheese Donahell. Matt Martin says, what is gross is our run game. That's a massive concern for the rest of the season, and yeah, it's pretty bad. And the run blocking wasn't good either. Of course, again, no Bradbury. Believe it or not, a lot of people in the past talked about Bradbury. Who cares? Like last year when he was missing some games with injury, the former Arizona Cardinal we had replacing him ended up doing a pretty good job to a point we wanted him in there the rest of the season. And then he wound up signing with Pittsburgh, which, well, whatever. I mean, good for him. He got a nice raise and all that, but it is what it is, right? Bradbury is like, well, I guess it's your job for now, but we're not going to give you the 5th-year option, so Bradbury's a free agent in the offseason. Hopefully we keep him. I can't believe I'm saying that, right, compared to what we'd seen before. I was saying today was definitely a dash in confidence. Matt Martin responds, to be fair, most of us did not expect the team would be 10-3. Yep, I mean, that's definitely true. Matt Martin again says, yeah, there it was. No, let's be honest. The D has key position holes. It's a question of managing expectations. They've met mine. Anything more is a bonus, and to go deep in the playoffs will require a shed full of luck. I was saying, I think so too. The likelihood has really fallen off the face of the earth with what we're seeing, when it comes to them making a playoff run. Tanae Brown out of New Zealand wraps up this section, says, can we draft a competent defensive coordinator next year, please, with a melting emoji? That's kind of funny. Yeah, I mean, it's true, though. It's insanely frustrating. Let's get to the Facebook page, facebook.com/Purple Mafia Show. The in-game thread, I'll try to keep this brief, because I'd probably like to keep moving. Maybe I babbled too much in some of this. Justin Jefferson with a franchise record. Jerry Hicks replied with, should have had that touchdown too. Yeah, and he wasn't out of bounds. That's true. KJ Clutch, I was saying, dude, they are getting everything they want. That's Detroit. It's driving me absolutely bananas. Brett McCarthy responded with, it's sickening. Brett McCarthy said, well, this game is over, and I said, I think so too. Let's make this quick here. Games like this can screw up your entire season. You go from great to mediocre just like that. That was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. That was at that goal line play at the end of the half. Gerald String was saying, have a feeling this one could be a barn burner, and it kind of was. Brett McCarthy agreed with him. Mark Carlson says he was responding to Gerald's ring. Me too. Some Fox Sports announcers were picking the Lions to win. Yeah, and I guess they were right, huh? Just like most of the betting world out there. I guess it was 90%. I can't even believe that. Mike Dale says Gerald's ring, the way it's been going, since the Vikes win all the barn burners and lose all the games that aren't close, I'd gladly choose the previous. This team is going to put me on blood pressure meds. Dave Hickey responded to Gerald's ring saying, agreed, lots of close games with the Lions the last couple of years. Mike Dale of New York area says, come on down to the home stretch, third quarter, time to wake the offense up. The offense was good, but the defense didn't do schmuck. Jerry Hicks out of St. Louis says Ed needs to go. How about a blitz at least once a game? It was ridiculous, wasn't it? Brett McCarthy was saying should have had the extra point. Yeah, it was stupid. Dave Hickey says, there it is. KOC doesn't trust Greg Joseph to make a PAT. Does anyone know if they have been trying out kickers? We need a turnover big time. Brett McCarthy said, hold to halftime, regroup second half, and of course we didn't. Brett McCarthy said, boy, if we pull this out, I hate this type of game. Mike Dale says, why is Dan Campbell's nose as red as a challenge flag? Is that just a bad cold? A previous week in Florida or done something? More nefarious. Ha ha. Yep, you never know. Jerry Hicks was saying, go for 2. WTF am I missing? I was telling Jerry, I don't get it at all. Some of these new-gen coaches come up with cute ideas that mean pretty much nothing but the opportunity to look stupid. Unfortunately, nobody responded to that. I thought somebody would have said something, but oh well. I guess they don't have to. Right? Brett McCarthy said he was mad at Hawkins' drop. Mike Dale was saying there's blown coverage assignment. 3 and out for the Lions to start off. That's what I like to see. Brett McCarthy thought we were in trouble. Dave Hickey said we need to get in the end zone before the half. Yeah, and unfortunately we didn't because stupid bullcrap. Get it to Hawkinson so he scores for both division rivals against each other. That would have been cool. And Mike Deal was excited about Dalvin one-on-one with the defender in the open field. Yep, you go for your jock strap, and you got faked out of it. Touchdown. Yep, that's when Calvin Cook did get in the end zone. Post-game thread. Damn it, I went to the wrong place. Post-game thread, please. Okay, they are there. And I loaded up the Vikings defense. 5 straight games allowing 400-plus yards. Longest single-season streak in franchise history. Interesting. David Gunther responded with, fire him, let Mike Pettin call the plays. Yep, I can understand that. Dave Gunther continues saying, he's too old school like Zimmer was. I understand and I agree. He's pretty much the same, isn't he? He's from Knoxville, Illinois. Dave Gunther from Knoxville, Illinois. Very cool. Dave Hickey again out of Iowa said, Joey's posting the post game early. That's not a good sign. Tough game overall, but Dalvin's fumble and missing Harry, Christian, and Bradbury. Just too much to overcome. We need to fire Donahell and get some competition for Joseph. And then it's over sign. Dave Gunther coming back again says, I agree. I don't know how people think that allowing that many yards in a row is acceptable. It's pretty pathetic, isn't it? Patrick Grant back in the house says, this isn't the same pushover Lions team the Vikings were all played. Very true. Tony Coleman says 10-3 still isn't anything to be ashamed of. I feel you there. Eric Mustard says our defense is offensive. Yep. Mike Dale, I'll come back to that. Mark Carlson says, I'm disappointed, dissatisfied, and disgusted. That's 3 Ds. Yep. Jason Michael says, worst 10-3 team I have ever seen. Yep. Jason Michael, yep, locally came from Maranatha Christian Academy. Matt LaBelle, also from Maranatha Christian Academy. So back-to-back Maranatha Christian Academy. Jason Michael was class of 95. Matt LaBelle, class of 96. Just in case you guys are listening, yep, I know your senior year, and mine was 98. Yep, they're a little bit older. Dave Hickey says, yep, I remember everything. No, Dave Hickey says, Detroit is the real deal. They play hard for their coach. Yeah, they really do. And have an explosive offense. And Hutchinson is a beast. Yep, that defensive guy. Yep, defensive lineman. Career day for Justin Jefferson and Cousins. Another bad day for Donahell in the defense. So we'll wrap things up with Mike Dale out of the New York area with a beast of an article here. Let's read it. All right, I know it's a big ask to sweep your entire division, especially against the team that is the biggest threat to your division supremacy. Believe it or not, which the Lions unequivocally are. But the Vikings were never in this game. Right at the start of the second half, since the Lions' fake punt, the pundits and experts in Vegas had the Lions winning this game from the start, which universally it seemed to be in the cards. Yeah, because, like I was saying, 90% of the betting odds going into Saturday night were favoring the Lions. 90%! I was like, that can't be good. That can't be good. Man, I mean, that's money right there. I wish I could be making money. I need to start doing that more. Just imagine the host of Purple Mafia picking against the Vikings today. That would have been ugly, but it is what it is on the DraftKings app. So, yep, highly recommend that, of course, as you know. Let's see where we were. I will say, though, I felt the Vikings would at least be a little more competitive. All things considered, the Lions definitely are an up-and-coming team to be reckoned with and should not be taken lightly from this point forward. The Lions are a very good offensive team and are cobbling together an impressive vein of form, which should not go unnoticed. That said, we will be the NFC North champions, and this is just another blip. However, after also simultaneously witnessing a rampant Eagles offense running roughshod over the Giants, it's clear to me that Philadelphia's football team is the elite and overwhelming toast of the entire NFC, pardon me. The question is quite simply, the Eagles have a dynamic offense and a suffocating defense that dovetails into a complete balanced football team. Whereas, we have a dynamic offense, we are a very poor and compromised defensive unit. In the Donahell system, we are playing an overly conservative prevent set on at least second and third downs, giving up ludicrous amounts of yardage, field position, and ultimately points. The fact of the matter, because of an inexperienced, untested in some areas, as well as an aging, sluggish secondary, especially in pass coverage, coupled with almost a non-existent pass rush. Zatari is definitely injured, and Donahell Hunter, where are you? It's obvious that we're playing scared. Donahell is so scared of giving up big plays, which happened twice today anyway, that this defense is almost barely serviceable. Now, I know what you're going to say. Mike, we're still going to win the division when we're still 10-3, calm the up down. However, after seeing the Eagles and what they're made of, knowing it's a Super Bowl win or bust, combined with the fact I'm a middle-aged, glass-half-empty curmudgeon of a Vikings fan. Me too, by the way. I'm with you 1,000%. You should see my tweets. The doubt has crept in that this year's team doesn't quite have what it takes to go the distance. Maybe I'm too gloom and doom, or doom and gloom, and I just need to snap out of it, but that's my gut feeling. Me too. That said, this team and regime under KOC is still punching well above their weight this season, and there's still much to be excited about in the future of this season and beyond. Fran Award, in my opinion, goes to Justin Jefferson. Always seems to be the bright spot, as despite the outcome, the cream usually rises to the top. Cousins had a good day, but then again, as like in the past, he was putting up numbers during garbage time while they were almost perpetually down by 2 scores. He's always done that, but we would rather have taken the W over him putting up stellar fantasy numbers, no? The Christian Ponder, it could go to the entire defensive line, which were completely anemic, AWOL, yep, and non-existent in their pass rush. The defensive secondary weren't much better. Anyway, your pick. However, the Vikings can shake this off and put together a better performance against the Colts and finally claim the division, as they rightfully should. Kings of the North, and looking to gain momentum and maybe a first-round bye to get the players healthy, i.e. Darrison and Zadarius Smith, for the playoffs. Just hope this defense can get its act together in time. Well, there it is. So let's pass out the stars for this episode. For the sake of time, Mike Dale is welcoming back to the Gold Star Award. Yes, sir, that was intense and amazing. Silver stars today, man, I could pass them out, boy. But Jerry Hicks deserves a silver star. Some really nice takes. Really like what he's having to say. And of course, Mad Barnes is absolutely great. I miss Brent Jacobson. If you're still out there, I think he still listens, but he doesn't post and he doesn't call in anymore. So that's kind of a bummer. David Gunther should at least get a bronze. Welcome, Dave Gunther. I'm pretty sure I've seen you before. Yeah, Knoxville, Illinois, of course. Yes, so I apologize. But yeah, still at least deserves a bronze star. And Dave Hickey, Dave bringing in the bronze. So thank you guys so very much for interacting with the show and making the show better all the time. Please write a positive rating on Apple Podcasts and other apps out there if you could. Those of you that do reviews, please, thank you very much. Please and thank you basically for that. Audio submission, go ahead and call in sometime. Just basically send in your audio submissions from your smart device. Very easy to do with opening up the voice recording app on every smart device on the planet. You just record it and send it to me anytime you like, and I'll convert it into an MP3 file thanks to Zumzar.com. Well, time to go out and look at Christmas lights some more. Hope you guys enjoy it. I certainly do. Otherwise, I better get the heck out of here, and hoping for something better next week versus the Giants. Until then, take care and God bless.